Hey guys, it's Sarah, and I'm back today with my April wrap-up. So I'm actually going to do a two-part wrap-up because I read 10 books this month, and even though that's not like a super lot, it's a lot to talk about in one video. So the first book that I finished in the month was actually a comic book, and that was Miss Marvel 2. Sorry, Miss Marvel 3. Crush, I think is what it was called. But I did like this one better than I liked 2, and I thought the art was a little bit more cohesive in this one than it was in 2, which is kind of what I didn't like about that one. So yeah, this definitely made up for that, and I love the storyline, and I just really like these comics. They're great. The next book I finished was an ebook that I got from the library, and that was The Art Forger, which was actually I read for one of my weeks for the 52-week around the world book challenge thing that I'm participating in on Goodreads. I don't know, maybe I'll make a separate video because I never made a video about it. I made a blog post about it. But it was like if you could have any job or like a job that interests you, and art forgery really fascinates me. So I read that book. It was okay. It was like mediocre. I liked it. There was things that I didn't really like about it. It centers around the thefts that happened at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum there in Boston, which was really famous and it's unsolved. Someone came in and pretended to be guards, and they stole paintings out of frames and everything. I like kind of her blend of history and this like reimagined thing that happened and her involvement in it. There were things like her relationship with this guy in it that I was not so into. He seemed like a total asshole, and I just couldn't handle that. Being like kind of an art nerd that I am, I really liked just finding the different history, finding the history of Isabella Stewart Gardner, thinking about Degas and the Impressionists. That's kind of my favorite time in art history, is like Impressionist paintings and stuff like that. So yeah. The next book that I finished was Isla and the Happily Ever After, and this is the third book in, I don't know what it's called, the Anna and the French Kiss, and all of these, that series. This one, for the longest time when I was reading it, I was like, oh, this is terrible, like, this just isn't good, why am I reading this, like, it's so sugary. It was so sugary and sweet, and just, like, very young. There's this moment in all the stories where it starts saying something about human nature or love or human connection. That's when I start really liking these books. So yeah, it wasn't perfect. I gave it a 4 out of 5 because there were, a lot of the book earlier on that they just weren't my favorite people, and this wasn't my favorite book. But really, overall, I did like this book because it redeemed itself. There was a moment, and I definitely started to just like feel a connection with these people, and I still liked, even in the beginning, I just like the idea of them living in Paris, and I like New York, and they went to Spain, and I think that's what I liked about all of this, like this entire series, is that the setting was so like Wonderlusty, I guess, it's like if you've never been there, you want to go there. If you have been there, you want to go back, and it's just like this yearning to go places and see the world, and to experience stuff like that. And so yeah, I like this book for that reason. The next book I finished is definitely a new favorite of like all time ever in the entire world. And I would love a physical copy of this book because I don't have a physical copy. I borrowed it from the library, and yeah, it's definitely one of those books I would have on my shelf, and that is Dear Mr. You by Mary Louise Parker. if you don't know, Mary Louise Parker is an actress. She was in stuff like Weeds and The West Wing and a bunch of other things. She is amazing. And I didn't quite know that until I read the book. And yeah, this woman has had just like a wealth of experience in her life. She has, I mean, I know anyone at that age is going to be way more experienced than like someone my age, but you can just tell that she has like lived a full life and she's not held back. And her writing is beyond anything that I could have imagined. It's really just, it's poetic. The premise of the book is that she's writing letters, and I don't remember how many there were, but she writes letters to men in her life. So past lovers, past acquaintances, teachers, best friends, her financial person, her, lawyers, NASA, stuff like that. It's a fascinating read, and like I said, the writing is amazing. It's hands down one of the best nonfiction books I have ever read in my entire life. And yeah, I loved it. The next book that I finished was The Good Luck of Right Now by Matthew Quick. And that book was just strange and unusual in the best way. My first Matthew Quick that I've read. I have Silver Linings Playbook on my shelf, and I intend to read it because that is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's got this thing going for it, and you really have to be kind of into it, and I can see it being one of those books that you either really like or you really hate. And I ended up really liking it, but it took me a bit to kind of get the hang of reading it and kind of get into these characters' heads and where they were at. The main character, Bartholomew, I think he's on the autism scale somewhere, is what I would say. He's older. I think he's in his 30s or 40s. I can't remember how old he was, but his mother dies, and he has been writing letters to Richard Gere. He was like pretending to be Richard Gere at the end of his mother's life. And so he's sort of writing to him as a way to help him get through his grieving process and the months after his mother's death, and sort of like help him understand the situation that he's in. It ended up being a really great way to tell the story, and it's just a very unusual way to tell the story. I've never really been like a huge Richard Gere person, but it just added this like very interesting element, and I definitely found out more than I knew about Richard Gere, I guess. But if you like sort of quirky and unusual stories and unusual storytelling, and sort of if you like psychology at all, if you like getting into a character who doesn't have like a normal thought process, or who isn't, quote unquote normal, this is definitely the book for you. It's just, I just don't even know how else to describe it. It's just unusual, and it's different, and I like that about books. And if you can be different in a world full of books, in a world full of common stories, congratulations to you, because that can't be easy. So I'm going to end the first part here, and then I'll film part 2 later. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.